with Dr. Tim Huxley, who is the Executive President at IISS-Asia in Singapore, here to participate in a conference on regional security in East Asia. Tim, could you give us a sense of what you think the principal primary security challenge is in the region, and particularly how much should we be worried by China's apparently increasing assertive position in terms of maritime security?
A number of Southeast Asian states are still consolidating their domestic political order, and that's a long drawn out process that occasionally becomes acute, as has happened with the coup in Thailand recently. And I think there are still doubts about the political stability of some other Southeast Asian states. I'd also point to Myanmar as an example of that. We don't know what's going to happen after the elections. Then there are more direct security implications of the state of internal order in Southeast Asian states, with live insurgencies in the Philippines still, although the main one in the south has recently been concluded with a peace treaty between the government and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. There's a live insurgency in Papua in Indonesia. There's a big insurgency in southern Thailand. Then at the next level, there is the question of relations between states in Southeast Asia, and there are some important tensions between the 10 members of ASEAN, although supposedly it is a fraternal body, and so we see tensions between Indonesia and Malaysia over maritime demarcation issues, between Thailand and Cambodia on their border, and we see action-reaction syndromes in the military programs of some Southeast Asian states who look over their shoulders at their neighbours. Then at the broader regional level, there's the question of the evolving regional pattern of power, you could say, and the sort of insecurities that's creating for Southeast Asian states as China rises and becomes more powerful and assertive, and as the United States attempts to bolster its strategic position in the region, not always convincingly from the point of view of Southeast Asian states.
In terms of the degree, the intensity of those challenges, have we seen something radically change in the last 5 years? Are these systemic, almost endemic challenges, or has there been a deterioration in the security environment in Southeast Asia?
At the domestic level, and in terms of relations among Southeast Asian states, I'd say that overall the position has got better. In terms of the nature of the overall regional order and the distribution of power, I think it's fair to say that the situation has deteriorated, and I think that's become particularly apparent in terms of China's assertiveness in the South China Sea, and we've seen a revival over the last 2 or 3 years of the tensions that we last saw on a significant scale in the mid-1990s, almost 20 years ago.
If we compare what's happening in the South China Sea to the East China Sea, where of course again you have territorial disputes, this time between China and Japan, that are looking increasingly worrying in terms of the increase in the intensity and frequency of interactions that are unhelpful between Chinese and Japanese maritime vessels, or even increasingly now aircraft. A lot of the worry has been that the hotlines are no longer operating, the confidence building measures that are necessary to deal with the risk of the crisis escalating, not out of any design on the part of either player, but simply by virtue of accident or misinterpretation. How much of that fear shapes and underpins the Code of Conduct initiative in Southeast Asia? How much of the Code of Conduct initiative is simply an attempt to provide a framework for talking about some of these territorial disputes, or managing the way the states interact at a diplomatic and a political level? Is the Code of Conduct designed in effect to provide specific reassurances in terms of how the militaries of the different countries interact with one another?
The Code of Conduct is essentially a confidence building and threat reduction measure. It's about managing the situation in the South China Sea. It's not about moving towards some sort of solution or negotiations. And I think that realistically all the parties, whether we're talking about China or the Southeast Asian claimants recognise that a solution to the South China Sea problem is unattainable. It's immensely complex. There are no particularly strong incentives for any of the parties to move towards a resolution. I think all of them see it pretty much as a zero-sum game at the moment.